We definitely want to be in the top 10. So I think that kind of gives people an idea of where we intend to go and our belief in where this business can go. With K.L.E, I was actually there at the launch of K.L.E. They were in Fiction, is where they actually launched the K.L.E offering, and I asked the third question that day, and my question had to do with tracks and records, right? You say in both tracks and records, and if they plan to franchise it into markets such as the US, Canada, UK, and beyond, because I lived in Florida. To me, it made sense that you would take one of the biggest brands out of the Caribbean and a global brand and bring it to our market. So it is disappointing to see that they have not been able to execute. And yes, COVID would have caused a problem 2-3 years, but what happened? Why didn't it happen before that? And so I think that now is the right time. The impetus for us to get involved with K.L.E actually was not tracks and records, though. It is so simple. I was in Jamaica recently, a few weeks ago, and I was helping a friend of mine was having her birthday, Bianca Wells, a close friend of mine, who is also a graduate of the University of Miami Herbert School of Business. We did our MBA together. And so when we were having dinner for her birthday, she was saying that she actually went to be part of the whole sea turtle release event. You get to release turtles out in Arca Bessa, and you actually walk through the Bessa property. And so she asked me if I've seen the properties. Quite a bit has happened so far. And so she had pictures and video to show me. And I was shocked. I didn't realize how far it had reached. I was like, wow, let me reach out to Gary and some of the team to just understand, are there any units still available? Because at one point, Gary had spoke to me about once he's ready, he would want me to come down, tour the properties, and maybe even shoot some videos to post on social media, maybe right about here in the US market. Everybody knows I share a lot of stuff about Jamaica on social media. And he thought it would be a good way to expose the property to the Jamaican diaspora. And so I was shocked to see how far it had gone. I was like, wow, when you want me to come down and shoot some videos, I need to see. And by the way, are any available? we have some stuff we're working on. And so that was actually the impetus to now go and talk to K.L.E. And we have never bought K.L.E stock until this Monday. We owned zero all these years. And I think for the same reasons most people have overlooked that company. We have a Blue Mahoe property fund that's invested in Miami. And so we made a decision in October at our last quarterly investor meeting to create a Blue Mahoe Caribbean property fund that we're going to launch in Q1 of 2024. And it is going to buy and hold properties in the Caribbean, starting in Jamaica, Bahamas, and then expanding out to Barbados. And so the fact that Bessa would be available around the same time is actually perfect timing. Let us essentially create a vehicle that allows widespread ownership for small investors. So you can get in at like $500 minimum, $10 a share, open to retail investors, where we can generally solicit under specific exemptions here in the US, and then market and allow us here in the diaspora to buy and own assets in Jamaica that will generate income and obviously contribute to economic development down there. And then of course, I assume if you have a plan for Bessa and you've done it and built it and executed, you've learned from the mistakes, you can do it somewhere else, right? You can go and buy some land on the South Coast or in Portland. I mean, there's going to be so much opportunity. So why not then also bring capital to partner with companies like K.L.E Group to do further developments across the island and in other countries? So it makes sense now that we've had real estate as the fourth leg in our table, and those are the 4 asset classes we look at, and we are very excited to work on that. It will be a REIT that we do here in the US. So it's actually very tax advantageous, and we do think that it allows the diaspora to now directly invest in Jamaica. So it's no longer FDI, foreign direct investment. It's now diaspora direct investment. It is a pool vehicle that has to be qualified by the SEC. People don't have to worry about that. It's going to be audited, so you're not worried about how the numbers work. And of course, there's going to be transparency. We have to do quarterly reports to the SEC, annual reports, annual general meeting, paying out dividends if we ain't going to maintain REIT status. And I think that is actually what we need for the diaspora to be able to participate down there. There's a trust deficit. We think we can solve that problem, but we need good deals. And I think Bessa is a good deal. Blue Mahoe gets to do essentially 3 things with just K.L.E. Our property fund gets to buy into Bessa and give retail investors in the US exposure to this Jamaican property that we can buy the property later, but we start with that one. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Blue Mahoe can help to open doors for Tracks and Records. And the idea being that Tracks and Records, in my opinion, should have expanded to the United States by finding franchisees. And so that's where FranJam comes in. And then we can help them identify franchisees. So we actually are in discussions. We've got no permission from K.L.E, but I have gone out on my own initiative to speak to potential franchisees in Miami, in Atlanta, and we've already had meetings with some people in Brooklyn. We're now going to, I live in Orlando. I've actually not spoken to anybody yet in Orlando, but we do think there's an opportunity to help them get into the US market, but compete against Bahama Breeze. That is a level that I feel is important. Bahama Breeze is not owned by anybody from the Caribbean. They don't even really use our authentic products. I remember going to Bahama Breeze and specifically asking, are you using Grace jerk sauce? What are you using on the jerk chicken that you sell? They sell a Jamaican jerk chicken, and they're not even using our product. So I've never seen Bahama Breeze donate any money in Jamaica or another Caribbean country. So you're making money off our culture and not putting a dime back, as far as I can tell, back into our company, our country though. And that's unfortunate. But that's actually what Steve Wilson, Sean Paul's manager, has said repeatedly. Our largest export is our culture, but we don't make the money off of it, or we make very little money off of it. And so we think we can help to change that. So those are 2 things I think we can help K.L.E Group with and be additive investors, not activists. And then certainly if I take the board seat, I think I can help them on some of the marketing and management side and bringing even more visibility to this company that does not get any exposure in the US. I've spoken to so many people here who did not know Usain Bolt has a sports bar. And so, if I get added to the board, we put the stuff out in the press here in the US, I'm going back on Bloomberg and Black Enterprise and Yahoo Finance, all these guys in Q1, I get to now talk about that in a bigger way. We're not just a shareholder. We are on the board, actively working with management. And I think that's only a good thing for them. Some people still going to think that we're crazy with what we're doing. But, one of the things I believe is that true entrepreneurs must be willing to be misunderstood for a long time, but still press ahead with their vision. That's how entrepreneurship works. Most people won't get what you are working on. They don't see what you see. Ignore the noise and just focus. So I do see something with K.L.E Group in these 2 buckets they have now. They have real estate and they have Tracks and Records. I think they can focus on those 2 things. You don't need to go and do another nightclub ever again. Focus on these 2 things and they can build a really good business. And of course, when they had raised the initial money in the IPO, they haven't gone back to the market and raised via an IPO at all. It's okay, maybe this is time for them to go and bring some additional equity capital into the business. But obviously, you're only as good as your last deal. So they need Bessa to work, prove, right, that track record. Now they can go back to the market, in my opinion. Once you prove the track record and your last deal was good, people say, management sort out. No, things are moved. Let's take a look now at where they are going versus what they previously did. They have turned the corner, is what I am hoping to see. And I want to play a role in that as well. They own, obviously, the Bessa management entity. They've always put that in their reports. Yeah, so that's great, right? From what I understand, they have a 3-year exclusive relationship to manage the property. So that means K.L.E can generate management revenue. I think that's a great opportunity there. So they earn money from selling units, then they earn money from managing units. I certainly think that bringing in experienced property managers who can market it to not just a diaspora market, is actually to Americans. I think that's a huge opportunity if they were to get the right partner on board. If I can be of help, I live here. I'm in Orlando and Miami. I'm happy to open doors for them. So I've volunteered and offered that as well. I'm excited about that opportunity. We also do see a clear opportunity where we basically, I feel like I was beat up over my head this summer. We have primarily focused on investing only in 3 asset classes, right? Public equities, everybody knows buying stock on the Jamaica Stock Exchange in a few companies. Yeah. Obviously, we invested in private credit. That's our Sprint Financial Services deal. We've now expanded that to MAPEX to provide financing for tractors, farm equipment, and heavy machinery in the Caribbean, Jamaica being a core of that. And then we've actually done obviously private equity. We don't name the company, but we do own 10% of an IT services firm in Jamaica, and I sit on their board. So if anybody goes and digs it up, they'll see on the company records which company it is. We have chosen not to announce that one, and that's been 2 years. So we were not interested in investing in real estate, right? That 4th asset class, mainly because I felt there were already 5 REITs listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange that you could just buy into to get exposure to the Caribbean. I did ask some questions about plans to expand the board in particular, and I did talk about adding 2 more seats. They're looking to add somebody with a financial background. They're looking to bring in Stacey Hines as well, someone that I know very well. And Gary Matalan did ask me about that as well. And so I think that's an excellent addition to the board and the work she's done with the ICD group in the past. So that's excellent. I like that they recognize they need to bring in specific skill sets on a board. That's good from a governance standpoint. Obviously, I would think anybody looking in would be a little disappointed they hadn't done it earlier. But growing pains for companies, I think one of the things that I certainly made clear to David during the AGM, Chairman David Sher, is that I would be willing to join the board if there was an opportunity there.